Hello YouTube, you're all very welcome back to the channel. In today's video I'm going to talk about 4 simple steps that you can take to become a runner. This is a conversation I have with people more often than I think about, kind of anecdotally in clinic. If anybody follows me on this channel or on Instagram, one of my main mantras that I always go on about is that physical activity is probably your best weapon to alleviate or decrease any pain or injury that you have. So invariably I'm telling people all day that they should exercise more, especially if they have pain. And one of the exercises then that I end up talking about a lot is running, because I'm a runner. So this is kind of the spiel I give people if they want to get into running, if they want to start running or become a runner. This is my advice. The first thing I tell people, and most of them probably would have ran at some point in their life before, but I tell them first and foremost to forget about speed. Just take the speed out of the equation and absolutely don't worry about it or think about it. Most people who try to start running and give up because they say that when they're running they're out of breath, they can't breathe, they can't run, and then they have to stop. And the only reason why that happens is they're running too fast. They'll often come back with a saying like, well, I'm running as slow as I can. Well, my answer is go slower. Yeah, if you have to walk and run, that's absolutely fine. When you begin to become a runner or start running, it's really a golden era, those first couple of months, because the gains come really quick. So if you go out, let's say you're just gonna go and run maybe 2 kilometers, something small, and you get 400 meters down the road and find that you're out of breath and you can't sustain that, you just have to walk. And then as soon as the heart rate and the breathing drop down and normalize, you start to run again, and you just keep repeating that. And as you do, the fitness will come really quickly, like really quickly in those first couple of weeks and months. It's when you get to a more standardized or elite level that the gains are much lower, and the progress in training is, the margins are much more limited and the gains are come by much less often. So enjoy those couple of weeks, and if you have to walk, then so be it. Don't be ashamed about that, just do it. You'll be glad once you get over that little first couple of week period and you see that you can run sustained for a much longer period. It will give you a real boost in confidence. The second thing I would tell somebody to do, or the second piece of advice I would give somebody, is to get consistent right from the start. It's far better to go easy when you start and just commit to 2 days a week and try and get that for 5 weeks. If you do twice a week for 5 weeks, that ends up running 10 times in that 5 weeks. Your gains in that period will be a lot better than if you do 4 runs 1 week, 1 the next week, 3 the next week, none the following, and maybe 1 if you run out of steam in the last week. So don't overcommit at the start. Don't put too much pressure on yourself to do more than you're capable of doing. Start really easy. If after 4 or 5 weeks you think you can bring it up to 3 times a week, then go for it. Okay, so you've built up, you've done your minimum 2 runs a week for the 5 weeks, preferably doing those runs either 3 or 4 days apart, so it gives your body maximum time to recover before you start to minimally break it down again, and then you rinse and repeat. Once you've done that for about the 5 weeks, you've built a habit, and hey presto, already you're a runner. We don't define who's a runner by how quick you are, or how many park runs you've done, or how fast your marathon is. If you lace up your shoes once or twice a week and get out the door and pave the pavements and enjoy it, and welcome to the club, you are a runner. So third piece of advice for you now that you're a runner is, if you built up to that third run, what you need to do now is start to add a little bit of intensity into some of the runs. So take one run a week, and if you're doing say a 5k, at the end of each kilometre just add in a couple of faster splits. So it might be just that you're running a kilometre at a nice easy pace, and then for the last maybe 100 meters of that kilometre, and it doesn't even have to be specific 100 meters, you could literally think from a certain lamppost in the road to the next one, you're just going to run fast, and then you're going to go easy for about 5 minutes, and then do it again, and maybe do 4 or 5 of them in one of your runs. And you might have found that you plateaued after those 5 weeks. I said that's the golden era, we'll get lots of gains. But if you plateaued after the 5 weeks and you feel like your fitness is stagnant, then you just do those little intervals, and they all start to bring the fitness out again. So you start to get a little bit better, a little bit stronger, and yet again the confidence gets boosted even more. An interesting point that we should add in here is that at some point during this little journey that you're going to take, you're going to feel like you've run out of motivation and it's hard to get out the door. And don't let that put you off. That's just being in the real world. We all feel unmotivated pretty much all the time. If you're relying on motivation to get you out to go for your run, well then you're going to struggle from the get-go. You've got to make a decision at the very start. You're going to do those 2 days a week, and you just go and do them. Rain, hail, sleet or snow. You can change your days if the weather's going to be better one day or the other, but you've got to commit to it. Okay, so let's say you get to the end of that 5 weeks, you've done your minimum 2 days a week, and then you've popped up a third run, and then for another, let's say 3 or 4 weeks, you've done that and added a little bit of intensity that we just spoke about. The last piece of advice then comes that on that other run, that third run, is you just start making that a little bit longer. So let's say you've started with like 4k a week, so you're doing 3 times 4k a week. It's going to take somewhere between 25 minutes and half an hour. So over the whole week, it's just an hour and a half of running split over 3 days. Anybody can do that. The third run of the week, hopefully you're doing it at the weekend, you just start to add a little bit of distance to that. So bring it up to 5k, run it slower, much slower than the other ones, build it up to 6k, 7k, 8k, whatever you feel comfortable doing, but just build on that one and do that for another couple of weeks, and by then you'll be bitten by the bug. So that's it, folks. That is a straightforward, made as simple as I possibly can, guide to how to become a runner from scratch, following some sort of a program like the Couch to 5k. I would highly recommend for anybody. It gives structure to your week, it tells you exactly what to do, and it lets you just go through it. But probably the most important point I said in this is that you will, on some runs, a lot of runs if you're me, find that you just don't have the motivation to go. But if you just push through those for a couple of weeks, eventually they become less and less, and then eventually you just almost get excited or look forward to going out for your run. Your mindset completely changes, and your mindset will change when you feel your body and your fitness change. So keep at it. Anyway, run far, run fast, but most of all, run sensible.